Hey everybody, so this is the wrap up with the rest of the work for my Greenstalks, and because I am forever distracted, when I went out to finish the Greenstalks, of course, I noticed that my citronella plant was looking terribly unhappy, and I had planned to get it in a pot anyways, and so I went ahead and stopped and did that first so that I didn't have to hear it whimpering in the corner as its toes were pinched in its cup. It was just part of the mad dash to try to get all of this done, and that's why I wound up shooting at night, because I just couldn't afford to put things off until I had time during daylight hours to plant the Greenstalks, because I was in the countdown until I had to pack my bag and run to the airport and fly out to Wyoming. Citronella is one of my favorite plants, and it propagates super easily, and it looks great on your patio in pretty much any size pot. So in the Greenstalk original planter, which is what we're looking at here, it's got the deeper pockets. It's meant for larger plants like this lunchbox pepper. And it's got more room, more depth for those root systems that you don't really need with things like lettuce or spinach or a lot of herbs that go in the leaf Greenstalk planter. A lot of these I did have to pull some soil out to be able to put that big old root structure in that was fully well formed. In a perfect world, I think next season and next year I am definitely going to try and get these plants put in here before they are this mature. It did make them a little more difficult to plant. I know a lot of people take these planters apart completely and then plant them and then stack them back up with the plants already in them, and then you are not struggling to work in this tiny pocket of space. But the reason that I did it this way is because this puts a lot of those spaces that I'm planting up at a very accessible level, so I am not having to do a lot of bending over, which is nice when you're out there working for an hour plus, 2 hours plus on different projects. But also, because this is my first time planting in a Greenstalk, I was not confident that I'd be able to properly judge how far in from the outside edge of the pocket I needed to be planting things. And I was afraid that if I planted them with them pulled apart, I would plant things too far in towards the center and then wind up with things getting bent and having to readjust things more once I stacked them up. This way, having done it this way at least once, now I have a really good sense for exactly how the plants need to be positioned in the pockets. So we'll see. Next season, probably not next season, but maybe the season after, I will unstack them completely, and I will need to do that anyways. In a perfect world, I will be doing that anyways because I want to refresh that soil, mix in some compost and some fresh nutrients like bone meal, worm castings, things like that. You can just add fertilizer to your water when you pour it in the top of the Greenstalk, and I will be doing that too now and then, but I really think that caring for the structure of your soil by adding those amendments, while it's not 100% necessary to container garden, it really makes a huge difference in the health of your plants because you are maintaining the health of your soil and feeding your soil instead of just feeding your plants. Here's a good example of what I talked about in my other video, and my surmise about the spoon was entirely correct. The spoon you eat your cereal with was the perfect tiny shovel to work in these pockets with. And in this, I did manage to start during daylight when I was working on it this second planting session. But you can see here I'm already starting to lose my light as I'm planting my orange sun bell peppers. To my knowledge, these are just a regular old bell pepper. Most people are aware, some people are not, that bell peppers, be they green, yellow, orange, or red, they are very similar. They're essentially the same fruit in terms of color. It's just different stages in the ripening process. A bell pepper that is totally not ripe is green. That is totally underripe, not mature. And then as it goes through the ripening process and the chemicals and nutrients in the pepper changes, they turn yellow, and then they turn orange, and then they turn red. And so the main reason I think that you're paying a lot more for a red pepper than you are for a green pepper at the grocery store is because they have had to wait longer to take that pepper off the plant, which means it costs them more in resources to support it during that time. And then also they have to account financially for the amount of product they will lose because it has a shorter shelf life. It's not going to stay good as long, and they're going to lose a lot more to food waste before it can hit the grocery store shelf, and then you buy it and take it home and put it in your tacos. I worked in a produce department at one point at Walmart, and the whole workflow and the process of how growing fresh food and selling fresh food works is very interesting to watch and to analyze. I think anybody who gardens and cooks is interested in food and all of the different impacts and ramifications it has for the way that we live our lives at home and at work and at school, how we pack our lunches, how we store food, how we make our purchasing decisions. These are some nasturtium flowers, Empress of India nasturtium. I did start some Yeti nasturtiums, which is a bigger variety that are bright yellow and peachy colored, but I didn't have any of those ready yet to put in my Greenstalks. These are wave petunias. I feel like wave petunias are probably not the ideal to put in a Greenstalk, but it's what I had, and this was a pocket closer to the back. So I was thinking it would be good to be putting something there that could stand out away from the Greenstalk a little bit, had some length to it, so that it has a better opportunity to reach out for the sunlight coming around the edges. Peppers and peppers and peppers. I'm really excited to try the shishito peppers, especially. The shishitos and the habanadas are something that are, both varieties are totally new to me. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the best parts about having any type of garden is that every year you can try at least a couple new things you've never had before. Here's another Empress of India nasturtium. And this one actually bloomed. You can see there's a little bit of a bud on it, even though the back of it is kind of yellow and the plant is stressed out. Within a few days, right before I left for my trip, it bloomed with a couple flowers, and they were so pretty. I saw Acre Homestead planted an entire Greenstalk just in nothing but nasturtiums. And I'm way behind on her content. I would like to sit down and catch up and watch some of it here in the near future. But that whole Greenstalk, it just spread out, and it was a whole tower of nasturtiums, and it was beautiful. It was one of her very recent videos, so if you go check it out, it shouldn't be too hard to find. So there it is. Peppers, for the most part, a little bit of amaranth. Amaranth is what it's called for salad greens. And there's my tower with all of the lettuce and the basil and the sweet marjoram and a whole lot of red of Florence onions. So I'm excited to see what those look like when I get back. And there's a quick shot. I know it's dark, it's hard to see. Those are my Principi and one of my prairie fire tomatoes and my bolting bok choy that I just didn't have time to deal with, but honestly I've enjoyed it immensely just sitting there bolted in its pot because it's really pretty. And these were some extra tomato plants that I had that I plugged in the ground, and I put stakes in after I took this picture to support them in the hopes that they do grow up big enough that they need the support. We'll see. It's really compacted clay there, so they may just wither and die, but since they were probably going to get thrown in a compost heap anyway, I figured, well, we'll test it out and see how it does. We've got nothing to lose, so we'll give it a shot and see what happens. That's how I do a lot of things in my life. Making my way by experimentation. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next video, which I believe will be a final patio tour in daylight for everything before I leave for my trip, and I will be gone for, I think it's a little bit over a month, which is a literal eon in garden time, living dangerously.